have fun and, check out the sites and whatever.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well,
Mhm.
congrats. And I think we can get started, Harris. So, hi, everyone.
Cool.
Thank you for joining. I'm excited to introduce you to Harris. Harris is the creator of Talkhire, and he's going to tell you a little bit about the platform. We, as YouthWorks, pay for the platform. We give it to you all for use, and it's a really great tool to implement into programming. So, I will pass it over to Harris to tell you more about it.
Nice. So yeah, and I think how many new people have joined? A few people have joined. So I'm going to sort of start from the beginning, explain everything about what this thing is, why it's useful. So first of all, like me personally, I've been in workforce development for a little over 5 years, actually like 5.5 years, and really built this mock interviewing tool out of personal experiences of working with a bunch of job training programs and doing a bunch of mock interviews and seeing that obviously, one-on-one mock interviews are useful, but most participants could use a bunch more mock interviews, and it's near impossible to offer all the interview prep that someone could really, benefit from to prepare for their future job interviews. And so what we built is a fully automated but very realistic mock interviewing tool where someone can come in, do one interview, do 100 interviews. We have had people who've done multiple people who've done over 100 mock interviews themselves. Um, you can do industry specific interviews. You can do general ones, like, the common tell me about yourself sort of questions. Uh, Also for younger audiences, we have informational interviews, kind of like those networking interviews, as well as if students are interested in what a college interview is like, we have college practice interviews as well. Um, and then after each mock interview, which is pretty quick, try to make it as painless as possible. Takes about 10 minutes. It's 5 questions. We generate completely automated feedback on how they did, how they can improve. We also record the whole thing so that they can listen to themselves, they can watch themselves. That can be sort of painful, but um, that whole, experience is fully automated and they can reflect, they can track their improvement, and you, as coaches, can check out how it's all going, listen to and watch the interviews, see their feedback, track their improvement, and give your own feedback if you want to, you know, further their interview prep. Um, so let me show you what the interview experience looks like. So last week I was doing a demo. Um, One cool thing is you can do as many of the questions as you want. So if you want to just do one question and then hang up, we'll still generate your feedback for that one question. So here I did one question. I was doing a college entrance interview. Um, and I was asked, think about your top choice college. And it gave me this, like, honestly, pretty solid feedback. I didn't give a great answer to, why Duke was my top choice college. And then it also generates all this automated feedback. We have 10 different dimensions of feedback, including this kind of like things to think about and reflect on. Um, and then we also have kind of like overall how to improve your score the next time. Here's another example mock interview that I did a while ago. So you can see this one's a video interview. Um, we're reporting on all these different aspects. We also have a cool PAR method predictor. So, and if you have any questions, you can interrupt me or put it in the chat. We don't have too many people here, so it can be more informal. But we'll also report on if the interviewee is using the PAR method, problem, action, result. So in a behavioral, tell me about a time when sort of a question, we've built models for that as well as just, all these different dimensions of feedback. So we have a little write-up for what the scoring system looks like, what each dimension means, why it's important, what it sounds like when you ramble versus don't ramble. Um, And these are, dimensions: par method, rambling, missing supporting examples. These two sort of go hand in hand. A lot of young people will either talk about many disparate examples or they will just talk in generalities. Like, I always show up on time, I'm a hard worker, but they won't give any supporting examples. And then we have presentation-based feedback like pace and volume, filler words, pauses, duration, and tone. So all of this plus the kind of this section, the things to think about and reflect on, will give you 10 dimensions of feedback. Any questions on that so far? Oh, here's some chat. Oh, just someone's eating lunch. And in the meantime, you can also, we'll also show someone's progress over time. So we nudge people to do the same set of questions more than once. I think I'm logged in as this one. Yeah. We nudge people to do the same set of questions more than once because number one, that's the best way to improve. But then number two, we can do an apples to apples comparison of their first answer to their last answer and show you and them how they're changing their answer over time. So this is, one way to track your progress. But what we prefer and what we think is the most impactful way is when you do the same set more than once, we'll show you right here how you're doing over time, where you're improving your answers, where it's getting worse, all that sort of stuff. So before I go into the staff side, any immediate, questions or clarification points? I'll make sure to talk about rollout and dashboards. Okay, cool. So on the staff side, so for all of you, each site has its own separate data. So each one of the ComCore sites has a separate class code, and you all have data to your participants' mock interviews. So, this site has this class code, and when someone enters this class code, they'll get tagged as coming from this site, and then the data will show up in this class or in the staff console. And when you come into the console, it's pretty simple. We've structured it in the way that we find most organizations want to see the data, which is they really care about, are people using this tool, this dashboard? Do they like using it, this one? And are they improving their interviewing skills? We also have other, you can check out the overall usage and things like that. But those are the main things that someone would care about. So here in this dashboard, we have some data so you can, go in and see for every mock interview that's conducted. These are just, demo mock interviews, but I could add my own feedback for this interviewee and save it, and they'll get notified that you thought that, whatever, I think you should talk about X. If I save this, then they'll get an email about that. You can listen to it. You can watch it if it's a video interview. Here it is, a video interview. You can view their feedback page, these kinds of pages if you are them. See an overall summary of their feedback. So if you're going through a lot of interviews, you might want to speed them up, kind of like a podcast style. So that is the first dashboard. Second dashboard is user feedback. This one in the demo, I don't currently have any data, but it's just simple. After every mock interview, we survey users. It's completely optional, but if they fill it out, we share the data with you so that you know what our participants think about this mock interviewing tool. Do they like it? What do they like about it? What do they not like about it? And then measure interview improvement. This will do that apples to apples comparison across, their different interviews and show you what we're looking for is where a significant change in the content has occurred. And so this, we think, is the most important measure. We generally see about 75% improvement. And you'll be able to track that over time and, see how participants are doing. Overall usage can be helpful just to see, over the last however many months, how many mock interviews has each person done. Um, and as a staff member, you can see all of our mock interview question sets. We have tons. We have almost 900 mock interviews right now, mock interview questions right now. And so, a person, an interviewee can come in, they can check out, I'm interested in being an employment specialist. Like, what is that mock interview like? Or what is that job interview like? And then they can go through a mock interview and see what that's like, get their feedback, get some content-based feedback as well as qualitative. We don't like to share this list the with the young people, with the interviewees, because then it's not a great interview simulation. But once they do a mock interview, if they choose whatever informational interview set two, which is a good set for a young person who might not have much work experience, then they can go back and do informational interview set two again and get the same questions so that they can really improve in that area. I think that's pretty much it. You as a staff member can filter down whatever question sets you want to be available to the young people. Most organizations just keep it as anyone can choose any of the sets, but if you're doing an industry specific program, you could filter that down. You can also send the data through Zapier into pretty much whatever you want, whether it's a Google Sheet or a Salesforce account, or send an email to yourself when someone does a mock interview, any of those sorts of integrations. But we will send you an email every Monday morning if there were mock interviews done in the past 7 days in your organization. You don't need to just randomly check this dashboard to see. You'll get notified. Any questions so far? No. Cool.
Harris, I have a
So
quick question.
yeah.
If we have youth going through the different tiers of our program, so say they start off as a tier one or a tier two, is there information, as long as under the same account, of course, is there information from that, say they graduate at like a tier three or tier four, is that information all available to staff?
Yeah, so if someone, all of an individual's mock interviews across, so we don't delete the data, but we assume that organizations only want to see the last 6 months worth of data in terms of
Okay.
listening to the interviews
Okay.
and watching the interviews. But if you wanted older, we could dig that up for you. But yeah, all of it, is saved, and you can track someone's history from tier one to tier four.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so the last two parts I want to talk about, which are related, is how does someone use this thing? How do we roll it out? And this is really the most important part. And really, there are two common ways that organizations roll this thing out. They can be used together. They can be used, one or the other. It doesn't really matter. We have class codes and we have assignments. So class codes are really nice because you can, tell everyone, here's a code, go to talkhire.com/practice, enter this code, do as many mock interviews as you want. Assignments are nice when you have a specific roster and you want a specific person to do a specific set of questions. We find assignments are most often used in a school setting, like a high school or a college setting, where the caseloads aren't they're not caseloads, but a teacher will have a set number of students and it doesn't change that much. Whereas usually in more of this kind of setting, class codes are used more often. But I will show you both. So class code, when you log into your dashboard, you'll see your class code at the very top. But also I can send this afterwards. These are all of the different sites, and these are the different class codes for each site. And so if I go to talkhire.com/practice, or if I just click this huge start interview button in the top right, I can enter the code and then go off and do mock interviews. After I've done one mock interview, I don't even need to remember this code forever. I can just enter my, email address or phone number, and we'll email you or text you the code. Or you can, keep doing mock interviews right from the interview feedback page. So I could jump in right here and interview again and, do video interview, audio interview, support landlines as well as cell phones. So that is option one. Option two is assignments, where you can be a little more heavy-handed and more guided in how you like people to do mock interviews. You can add them one at a time, although uploading a spreadsheet is generally easier. And you can select whatever question set you want someone to start with, how many mock interviews they want them to do. Um, we have this little auto nag feature where if you want us to, we can automatically follow up with them if they don't complete the assignment. So we follow up 1 day later, 3 days later, 7 days later if they don't complete the assignment. And then in this table, you would have, a table where you could see who's done their assignments, who hasn't done their assignments, check all that sort of stuff. So those are the two main ways. As rollout resources, I really recommend this. So we have a lesson plan that we wrote up, and we incorporated the best practices of how a lot of other organizations have rolled this tool out. And so if you are integrating it into a class lesson or, a step in a program, you could just follow this and know exactly how to start the lesson, talk hiring, do class activity, do additional mock interviews, for homework, how to evaluate, all of that sort of stuff. So this is just like a cheat sheet for a staff member to roll it out super effectively, very easily, without really needing to know that much about this product. And then another thing that we really like is on our main website, we have this section called Career Coach, which is really for you. And we have this 5-minute crash course that anyone can go through. Again, it's not for the young person, it's for you to, get a refresher on essentially what I've talked about here. And as you go through it, I don't really want to fill this whole thing out. But as you go through it, we will, give you a refresher, but also give you some quizzes. And my coworker and I get all of these responses. You also select how you want to roll it out, when you want to roll it out, and we look through what you share, and we'll send over a quick email if we think that you should, tweak your rollout a little bit, because given your kind of program, it's a little better if you do this thing instead of that thing. Let me see. I think I have pretty much covered everything. The last thing I want to touch on rollouts are, as I'm sure you know, interview prep is not the most fun thing for a lot of people. And young people get especially nervous around it. And so being aware of that is really important. Some organizations like to start with audio only mock interviews, just so that you're reducing the number of inputs, and, individuals get just more uncomfortable when they're staring at themselves and listening to themselves. So that's a nice way to start and ease into interview prep. And we really recommend assigning or, making it somewhat required that people do one mock interview. Ideally, they'll do 5+, but what we find is that getting over that first mock interview hump can be the challenge. But then once they've done that, we see on average people do a lot of mock interviews. I think I was pulling the data last week, and around 40% of our users do 3 or more mock interviews. So you'll see a bunch of, interview prep, a lot of mock interviews, but getting that first one can be a little scary. Um, when you are bringing it up in a setting, it's helpful to remember that if you just, say do one mock interview and that's enough, um, we won't be able to track their improvement and you won't be able to see their improvement. And we've, had organizations where they'll ask students to just do one mock interview and then you don't know if they're improving. So, they can start one mock interview, do as many as they want. We generally recommend at least 5, just so they can do some industry specific and some general. But yeah, it's up to them. So I don't know, any thoughts about questions or how to roll it out most effectively, or, troubleshooting questions or anything that I can do to be helpful?
Is this something that we have access to currently? And if so, is there a place that we can find our login information? Was that sent to us and I missed it, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. I can send it out after this, but I was also just talking, the portal that was just rolled out, this information and all the codes are going to be on the portal, which you can access at any time. So that's where they'll kind of live. So anytime you're like, oh man, I don't remember my code or I need to log in, that's where the information will be for you.
Okay, and you'll send it out in an email too.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Harris,
And
I just wanted to say that I appreciated the tips that you gave and talking about how important this is to actually like get your foot in the door and doing the first one, because I think that's something we all sense. So I think it's really good to name it. Thank you.
I mean, we've all done a lot of these rollouts and we see what happens.
I also think that, Harris and I have talked before about how this can be done in programming. And I think a really great example that Harris has given me is that Neshoba Regional High School, the teacher had them go out to a courtyard and said, grab some headphones and a computer or a phone and find a comfortable spot and kind of do it that way. And so they really had their own space, their ability to do it. Someone was able to monitor that everyone was completing it. But I think it really eased that anxiety of being in, a classroom or a confined setting where people can be heard because, like Harris said, that anxiety is there. So with the summer coming up, I thought that was a great option for people having their students do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do see some school settings, where a bunch of people are in the same room, but yeah, if you can spread out, that's amazing.
Especially for the first go around,
Right, exactly. Yeah, and it feels very natural to just talk on the phone and do your interview.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any other questions or anything people are curious about that Harris can help with while we have him here?
Do you all do interview prep and mock
this is
interviews? Oh, sorry, continue.
No, I just said I thought it was great. Thank you. But that's a great
cool.
question. Yeah, Heather, you were going to answer, I think.
Yeah, we do that. It's something where I manage a young adult career center for the as a part of the Mass Higher Career Center system for the state. So that's one of the services that we would naturally offer. And I think this is great to be able to track sort of having it computer based is not, it's like it takes away the human element of figuring out how somebody really have someone rated, right? Because everyone sort of rates a little bit differently. So I'm very interested to see how this works and look at the data and things like that. I'm a big data person. So I think it's a really, really cool idea and I'm excited to see it.
Cool. Yeah, we tried to use as much of a mock interviewing rubric as possible in an automated way. So yeah, it should be a good experience.
Absolutely. I've been in other programs where they immediately go to having participants get interviewed by like employees of a company, and that is just so anxiety provoking for them. And I think if they have this practice and the ability to kind of do it on their own first, it really opens the door to it's not that scary.
Mm-hmm. And if you do it that way, a lot of organizations will have some Talkhire mock interviews, then, have some partners come in and then do some more mock interviews to practice whatever came up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Any other questions from people? No?
I realized one thing I did not show is how to actually get to the dashboard. So I will briefly record
Go ahead.
that because you
Absolutely.
definitely need to know that. And then I'll let you all head out. So when you are here, so, you go to the Talk Hiring website, we have 2 products, click on the realistic mock interview side. And then the career coach stuff is what I was talking about, kind of like your single page, everything you need to know to roll this thing out. And then we have this view dashboard button right here where you can click it and go directly into your dashboard. So it also, if you go talkhiring.com/staff, it'll take you there, but you don't have to memorize that URL. And then again, for the interviewee, click start interview, and they can go and do as many as they want. Nice.
Simple and easy. Thank you so much, Harris.
Very good.
Yeah. Yeah, and they'll I've tried to make it like it is secure, but it's also passwordless, so that makes it also simpler and easier for everyone.
Yes. Yes.
Nice.
Teenagers
Thank you.
remembering passwords is a battle.
Yeah. I'll throw my email in the chat so that you all have it. But yeah, good luck. Always, listening to feedback, comments, questions. I'm here to help.
Great. Thanks so much, Harris. And I will send a follow-up email to everyone here with that information. And then we'll also let you know where it's stored on the portal so that you can access it at any time and not have to dig through Outlook. My nightmare.
Sounds good.
Absolutely. Thank you.